everybody, welcome back once again to On the Couch with David and Travis.
This was episode 3, The Phone That Never Rings. I did not like this episode.
I think I see what they were going for.
Oh, it's obvious what they were going for.
It's so basic.
Okay, so there's a few things. It's like, what I think, first of all, this is my, I would say, second least favorite of the whole show, but I guess if that's as bad as it gets, it's not the end of the world, but
well, it's not as bad as it gets, apparently.
Well, I mean, it's not, my least favorite isn't that much worse than this.
Oh, okay.
It's not like, it's just like, you're right, it's very basic, you see every foreshadowing, every plot point, every character arc that's going to happen here.
Yeah.
And it feels, and for a third episode to put this out is really rough, because if you're like, oh, I'm going to give this show a chance, and you watch these first 3 finishing on this, you're not left with a lot.
Yeah.
You're not left with that much of an urge to continue and see the rest, and that's extremely unfortunate, I think. I mean, there's having rough beginnings, but this is a choice they made to do this one. The first 2 were underwhelming, but this is just poor.
Yeah, it's not a good showing. I don't think it was it definitely is not the absolute worst thing I've ever seen, but like you said, we saw right away, his classmates are gonna go out there and try to go see the fight. They're gonna get caught in the fray. They have to go into the tank with him.
Yeah.
And the entry plug with him. He just beats the enemy in time.
And the problem...
it's very cliche.
The main problem about this, though, is I hate the characters of... It's Kensuke and Toji. And they have this episode, maybe 1 or 2, where you have them in it, and they're sort of big parts of it. But in the grand scheme, they are so incredibly inconsequential to what's going on. Mm-hmm. They have no... I think after halfway, you just never see them again, and they never bring it up, because they have no personality, they have no character, they have no arc, they have nothing. It's just boring, lazy. There's no meat on those bones.
I think it's really having the school in general. I feel like it's just not indicative of this series.
This doesn't need to be a school anime. It's not part of it, and we see that it doesn't become part of it, but it just feels like they're wasting our time when they're giving us this, because, like I said, these characters are so irrelevant that it's disappointing to watch this episode when I know that this is nowhere near what the show's capable of, and especially on a sense that we're at episode 3. I know they really wanted to push Shinji, who we kind of have a pretty good idea of, not that much, and they wanted to push Misato. That's 2 of our main characters, but our other 2, Rei has said 1 sentence so far, and I get the whole point is that she's kind of aloof and mysterious. But 1 sentence and then no other relevancy. And then we'll talk about this when we get there, but I think they introduce Asuka, who's our 4th main character, way too late in the series. I think it's episode 7 or 8. So to have episode 3 push these guys, you're like, oh, these are going to be big parts of it, but they're not. And we should be spending time with the characters who we are ultimately going to be spending a lot of time with.
Yeah. And
Gendo isn't in this episode at all.
Yeah, he's not at all. Or if he is, it's such a fleeting moment that we can't even remember it. I think it's just a very... It feels it's just like doggy paddling in the water right now, trying to stay afloat. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Because it's just there's no development in any of the characters. There's no really there's not even a lot of exposition.
There's one big moment, I wrote this down, and it's dumb because this is actually really important information, but it's the scene where Shinji's in class and they're texting him on the computer saying, "Are you the pilot?"
Yeah.
Well, the speech the teacher is giving is the history of the second impact.
Yeah.
Which is a big part of the series. It's 15 years ago, half the world was destroyed, half the population. The effect of that, and I just wanted to hear what the teacher was saying, but they weren't focusing on it, and they had other lines and dialogue going over it.
Yeah.
And that's important. We need to build this world, not push it to the background.
Yeah. I think... I just think it went about it the wrong way.
There was one thing that is kind of foreshadowing in this. It's just one line they had in the very beginning. I'm not even going to say it because I think it's a little bit of a hint and I don't want you figuring things out a little too soon. There was one line where you're like, oh, okay. But it was nothing. It was superfluous.
I think I might know what you're talking about.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. What I think is... the biggest problem is just that it's not interesting.
No,
it's
boring.
There's no plot that's important. There's no characters that's important. The action scenes are fine or whatever, But like, and we were talking about phallic imagery, like that.
Oh
that
yeah, I mean
angel
that's.
was like
I mean, if you want to talk about one thing I want to
fallacy.
praise is the design of this angel is cool. I mean, it's weird.
It's phallic,
but it's interesting.
That's for sure.
It's interesting to look at. It's different. It's very, very blatantly phallic.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I'll give it that. That's the only remotely interesting thing in this entire episode, though.
Like everything was like it was so easy to see it coming. Like in the beginning, they're like, "Okay, let's go over like these things. Remember, if you get cut off from the umbilical cable, you only have 5 minutes." And then in the episode,
it's hard.
It gets cut off, and then he has 5 minutes, and he barely makes it in time. Like,
it's weaker than.
It's just so run of the mill, and like. It feels like a story I've seen 100 times in kids' TV shows.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And it's just not...
It's weaker than anything we saw in Avatar.
And there's just no tension to it.
No. And this is hard for me because I'm telling people to watch this show. I'm saying this is my favorite show of all time. And this is one of the things where it's like, okay, maybe the beginning isn't deceptively simple. Maybe it is just simple. Maybe they didn't have... it all figured out what they were going to do in the end at this point. Because that's one of the main theories is we're going to make a normal generic, we're going to make Gundam or Code Geass, which I guess hasn't come out yet. We're going to do a robot mech show, high school, busty girls, we're going to do it all, whatever. And then, something happens, well, we're going to do things a little bit differently. And I like to believe that that's not the case. I like to believe that they were smart enough to have this all figured out. But this is not an episode that's convincing me in any way that that's the case.
Yeah. Definitely, it's so run of the mill. I can't even.
You don't have that much to say. I've said everything I can.
Yeah. So hopefully, episode 4 goes a little better for us.
Yeah, we're taking a little break now. We'll come back.
Yeah, I need to go eat some cheese curds and some.
We're gonna we'll do 4 through 6. Even then, we still won't have Asuka, which I think is a big part of it. But no, it'll be a while before we're like.
Out of the woods.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. We'll make it. So if you're watching with us, hang in there. You'll get.
If you're watching this, I would say you can skip this out. I mean, if you're like, I don't want to watch all 26, you're not going to miss anything skipping this episode.
There is, like, even in the worst Avatar ones, it's like, okay, at least there's like
some character, some humor.
Yeah, or something that, like, the Fortune Teller was the worst one, and even that, like, has some good moment, like funny or...
I mean, think about watching the first 2 episodes of the show, how fast it went. Like, you're getting all this stuff thrown out, and you're like, this is cool, what's going on here? And then you watch this, and you're just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's not a very analytical way to put it, but I think it says it all.
It's yeah. Okay, we'll see you next time for episode 4. Hopefully it goes a little better.
Oh, this one, did I say it's called The Phone That Never Rings?
Yeah.
It's a stupid title, who cares?